makers, and welcome back to Making with Miss Dobras. All right, this might be my last video of the virtual school year, and of course we're going to do one of my favorite projects, and it's the origami crane. If you love origami, you need to learn how to fold an origami crane. Not only is it probably the most famous fold of origami, but it's also very symbolic. It has come to be a symbol of world peace when people fold origami cranes. And you will often hear of people folding 1,000 paper cranes to make a wish for world peace, or if someone is dying or sick, and they will fold these paper cranes to try to make a wish to make them better. And there's a famous story that goes along with origami cranes, and it's often taught in 3rd grade. And there's a book called Sadako and the 1,000 Cranes, and it's by Eleanor Kaur. And it's a great book to read, and if you have time this summer, I highly recommend reading this book. Go onto YouTube and you can listen to people reading chapters of it, or you can watch animated versions of it, and I have links to a lot of those in my altitude card today for you. All right, so I'm going to tell you a very quick version of it. So in 1948, in World War II, the United States dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan, and it killed a lot of people. There was a little girl named Sadako Sasaki who was 2 years old, and she survived the atomic bomb. But when she was 11 years old, she got sick with leukemia. And that was the result of being exposed to radiation from the atomic bomb. And so her classmates sent her origami cranes while she was in the hospital. And she started folding origami cranes from any kind of paper she could find. Wrappers, recycled paper, anything she could find. She did die, and a lot of kids died because of that atomic bomb. And in 1958, there was a Children's Peace Monument that was put together in Hiroshima, Japan. And it is a statue of a little girl holding an origami crane. And it is in memory of all the children who died from the atomic bomb. And you will see people that come to this monument and drop off folded paper cranes. And because of this, the paper crane has become a symbol of world peace. And people all over the world fold paper cranes. All right, so let's learn how to fold a paper crane. All right, to fold a paper crane, all you need is square paper. Ideally, you would have traditional origami paper, but of course, as usual, you can use any kind of paper you want. This is a Post-it. You can use any paper as long as it's square. All right, so this origami fold takes about 30 folds. I would say anywhere between 20 and 30 folds. So it is a more advanced fold, but you're all very capable of it. And I know that a lot of 3rd graders in particular, when they read this book in their class, Sadako and the 1,000 Cranes, that they fold often 1,000 cranes as a class challenge. All right, so to begin with, we're gonna turn the point towards our tummy, and we're gonna fold it in half diagonally. And the more accurate you can do with your folds, the better. And then I'm going to turn it again and rotate it and do it again. Fold it in half. You should see 4 triangles. And now I'm going to fold it in half again horizontally. Remember to match up those corners as good as you can. And after each fold, I'm opening it. And then I'm going to rotate it and fold it in half again. Now we've done this with a lot of different origami folds. This is the start of many different origami folds, and I put the lines on this fold so that you can see the folding lines that you should have. So these are the folding lines that you should have after you did that fold. All right, so now you take it and you point it towards your belly, and this is a harder fold. It's to make a square base, but I want you to try to see the square shape, right? So there's lots of shapes going on here. There's triangles and squares. But if you can try to train your eyes to see that square shape, here's the square shape right here. And so I'm going to push these 2 sides in slowly, and I'm going to push this down. Do you see how I did that? So I'm going to do that again. So there's a square shape here, and I'm going to take these 2 square shapes and push them in gently. Notice I didn't just flatten them down. It's all along the fold lines that you've already folded. And then I'm going to flatten this. Okay, so when I turn this over, it's not very pointed, so before I smush it down, I'm going to make sure that all the fold lines get folded. All right, So there we have, this is called a square base in origami, and it's open on the bottom, and it has 2 layers on the sides. All right, so that takes a little bit of practice, and there's actually different ways to get to this square base, but that way is pretty easy, so I'm gonna go with that way. So now you wanna turn it around, and you want the open side facing your tummy, and we're gonna do a kite fold. So we're gonna take the top layer, and we're gonna take this bottom edge and fold it to the center line. We have done this kite fold, or ice cream fold as I like to call it, many times this year. And then we're gonna do it on the other side, all right? Okay, now when you see this, you have kind of the kite fold in the middle, or the ice cream fold, and you have these 2 flaps. And we're gonna take this top part and fold it along this line. So we're going to take this top triangle and fold it right along that top line, okay? And then we're going to flip this over and fold it down on the back side, okay? In origami, a lot of times you fold things and then you unfold them. So you fold it here, you turn it around, you fold it over the back, and you unfold it. What we're trying to do is get crease lines, and those are going to help us later. Okay, so now we're going to turn it around, and we're going to do the ice cream fold on this side. And even if you mess up, I would say keep on going, because I mess up all the time, and that's how you learn. For this next fold, you're going to open this top layer up, and that's why this fold right here is important, because you're going to kind of push that down. It almost looks like a boat. And what we're going to try to do is flatten it down, okay? So, but we don't want to just smash it down. We want to put our fingers in these corners and get the folds to come down right down that middle line. And it's going to be pretty hard, but you're just going to fold it down. You kind of fold these 2 to the middle like this, and then you're going to flatten it down. And this is called a petal fold. And it's pretty hard at first, but you have to try. You see how that looks a little weird? So before I fold that down, I'm going to push out, and you really try to push it out to the corners to get it folding down. And if it doesn't fold down in the way that you want it to, you can just refold it, because you really want it to go down this center line and have points on the end. So this one's okay, but this one doesn't look so good on that side. So I'm going to try to refold it. All right. So by the end of this fold, your paper is going to be pretty crumply, and that's okay, because we're learning. You're going to get better at it. So now we're going to flip it over and try to do the same thing on this one. So we open this up, and we open it up slowly and gently, and there is a fold in the middle. And you see how you open it up, you kind of pull it up tall, and then it starts to come together on its own as you push it down. And you just need to help it get into the correct shape. And sometimes it's easier than other times. So I recommend putting your fingers in there and pushing out those corners, and you want to try to get it right down the middle line so that these are not overlapping. And you'll know you did it correct when it has these kind of moving legs. And this is actually the bird base, and it's used to fold birds. And we're folding a crane, so that's appropriate. All right, so point the little legs that are open towards your tummy, and this time we are going to make these thinner. And the way we're going to do that is by doing one of those kite folds again. And we're going to just take this edge and fold it to the middle line. All right? And I'm going to do it on both sides. And it's going to get pretty skinny. And this is where origami paper is nice, because origami paper is pretty thin. And so when you do lots of folds, you can still fold it pretty well. All right, and so now I'm going to flip it over and do the same fold on this side. And I still have the moving center legs. Okay, now, so each one of these legs, one is going to be the head and one is going to be the tail. And you're going to start to see it right now. I'm going to fold it all the way up and add a little bit of an angle right here. Now the angle, you can play around with that angle to do whatever angle you want, but I recommend making it about the same on both sides. But you can play around with that angle to see what you want. And now you're starting to see the shape of the crane, right? This is the body, These are going to be the wings, and one side's the head and one side's the tail. Okay, so now we're going to unfold this, and we're going to do something called a reverse fold. I'm opening up the sides. You see this? You see how I opened up the sides? And then I'm going to fold these together, and I'm going to flatten it down this way. Now I need the table to flatten it down. And you want to do your best to try to get them to be even. And I like to call this the fox fold. I don't know why, it kind of looks like a fox face to me, like a long nose, 2 eyes, 2 ears. Now my fold up here is not great, but I'm going to keep rolling with it. Okay, so do you see what we did? Now it's flat on each side. Before it looked like this, you can see the split in the middle. And what we did is we folded these in. We pushed them in with our fingers, and then we pushed in this side, and we have this fold. Okay, so now here comes the reverse fold. So we're gonna bend this up and bend it in. And what happens is, we already folded it at that angle, so we're trying to find that little edge where we folded it. But it's going in here. You see that? It folds in, and then we're pinching it shut. I know this is a complicated one. So we're opening this side, and we're folding it up. We should already have a crease there because we folded it before. And then we're folding it down. And this takes a lot of kind of pushing the paper into the shape that you want it. So now we have this same shape that we just had, but these are inside of here. These folds are inside rather than on the outside, if that makes sense. All right, you guys, we are really close, and it's okay if your folds are not perfect. My folds are definitely not perfect, but again, if you're going to challenge yourself to make 1,000 paper cranes, or even just a few, you're going to get better as you go. All right, so here's the fun part. You fold down these wings, and I would fold it down as far as you can fold it on both sides. All right, they should be even though. And here we have a paper crane. Now, one of these has to be the head. So again, we're going to do a reverse fold. So I'm going to fold it into itself. I'm going to fold it down, and I'm going to fold it in like that. And here, you can play around with it, but basically you want to do a beak here. I have that little, you see how that's like a little nose? I might need to fix that little part. But that is a reverse fold too, where it's inside there. And here we have a paper crane. And some people just end it there. You can open the bottom so it can stand a little bit. And there we have a paper crane. But what I like to do is once I get to this, you see how this part's flat right here? And a lot of people do this, is you put your finger on the bottom and you push up on the bottom as you pull out with the wings. So I'm going to pull out on these 2 wings, and I'm going to push up from the bottom. And you're going to watch this little part right here is going to inflate, almost like a little balloon. All right, so I'm going to push up and out. Nice. You see how that part inflated? It was flat, and now it has air in it, actually. And of course, you don't want to push too hard or pull too hard because you can rip it. It's just paper, so you have to be careful. You probably will rip a few. All right, here we have my origami crane. And I love this part where at the end, you're kind of pushing up from the bottom and you're pulling out, and it inflates it right there. There's actual air in that. And here is one origami crane. Okay, so make as many as you want. As usual, have fun with it. Experiment with different sized paper and different kinds of paper. And then ultimately, if you want to make a decoration, a lot of people choose to hang these and make mini and put mini on a string. And I love this project with the origami crane. It's very meaningful. It's a symbol of peace. This is a meaningful project, but it's also really the project that made origami most famous throughout the world. So I hope you take your time to try to make origami cranes. It is a hard fold. Don't give up. Be persistent. Keep at it. You can do it. Maybe get some family members involved and see how many you can make. All right? That's all for now, you guys. Enjoy making paper origami cranes. And as usual, stay safe out there and keep on making.